Ready when you are. All right. Thank you all for joining us today. We are happy to have you. We appreciate you coming. So whether you're here in person or watching this video later, first and foremost, let me say thank you for considering NPTC for one of your for an internship position in site. We know you have lots and lots of choices and you're exploring lots of options, and we are grateful and appreciate that NPTC and our sites are on that list for your consideration. And we hope after today you get some of your questions answered and maybe have more interest in our sites. And we do hope to see your applications come through when the time is right. So today we're going to go over just some information about our organization. And then we're going to focus a lot, obviously, on our Pacific region, talking about the sites. So I'll give you a little bit of an overview of NPTC, and then we will turn it over to each of our sites. We'll spend some time talking a lot more about what it is like as an intern there, what are the training experiences like there at the site level. And then we'll open it up for any questions that you all might have. And if you don't have any, we have some pre-submitted questions that we can go through just to prompt some discussion and maybe prompt some additional thoughts or considerations. So again, thank you for joining today. So we're going to jump right in here. So just to give some history, NPTC, we were originally known as Heart of America Training Consortium, now National Psychology Training Consortium. We were founded around 2002, 2003 out of a workforce development grant. We originally started in Springfield, Missouri, which is part of our central region, still exists today. And we started with a few small sites there and have grown from that one region to now launching our fifth region, and Pacific being our newest region to join the consortium. So we are thrilled to have our sites here in the Pacific region. Our goal and the mission really of what we do is to help train interns in being prepared to work in and with rural and underserved populations and communities. So we know that there are a lot of individuals needing access to very critical services, and our goal is to bring in interns to partner them with these sites that are providing really critical services to these communities, and to give those training experiences to interns to be able to get that training in what it's like to work in rural and underserved areas. So a little about our Pacific region. We were founded in 2024. Like I said, it's our newest region. We were founded in 2024, and we did have a number of questions submitted to us about our accreditation status. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. So we have been approved for our site visit, and that approval comes with a window of time in which our site visit can occur. And right now we are scheduled to have our site visit sometime between April and August of the spring, summer of the 2026 training year. So we are not yet accredited. Of course, that site visit is kind of one of the last big things that we have to accomplish before completing that accreditation process. So we are very excited, obviously, about that upcoming site visit. Again, that will be on the schedule for the spring, summer of 2026. The way that APA accreditation works is if we receive accreditation post that site visit, they backdate accreditation to the date of the site visit. So obviously we will do everything possible to get that site visit scheduled as early in the year as possible. But of course we have no guarantees of the outcome of that site visit, but we are moving through that process nicely, and very excited about having that upcoming visit. So we do have two sites to talk with you about today, and I'm going to throw to them here in just a little bit and let each of them share a little more about their sites. But before we do that, I guess I also want to mention that as a consortium, really all of our sites that you'll hear from today, and any of our sites really within our region, we don't treat this as just a 12-month internship and you're done. We really invest in our interns and want to keep our interns on long term. So we have many postdoc opportunities. Many of our sites offer postdoc opportunities and beyond, and full employment opportunities down the road. So we look at this as an investment in you and growing the field of psychology, and we are very proud of that. And so one of the things that we will talk about throughout the year if you become an intern with NPTC is, again, how you might stay connected and engaged with your sites and connected in these areas that desperately need psychologists. And hopefully we can keep you on for postdoc and then many years beyond that. We have many individuals, some in fact, with us in our Pacific region that have completed their training with us within PTC, their former alumni. some are supervisors, training directors. So we really love to see our interns stay with us and continue to grow and expand psychological services in these areas. So we are going to jump right in first with sound psychotherapy and assessment. So I will have Dr. Swain tell you a little more about her practice.
Hi, I'm Sierra. I own a group practice called Sound Psychotherapy and Assessment, where we do lots of therapy and lots of assessments. So the experiences are pretty broad, and the client population varies from like Medicaid, state insured clients for therapy to private insurances to sliding scale. I try and make sure that everyone has access to kind of a private practice-based care. A lot of private practices don't accept insurances, definitely don't accept Medicaid. So we try and provide those services to as many people as we can. And then we have several assessment opportunities, anything from disability assessments to forensic evaluations in the jail to parenting evaluations to evaluations with CPS, as well as other like more comprehensive neuropsych evaluations for diagnostic clarification or treatment recommendations. Sometimes there are even like personal injury cases that we get and work on. So there's a whole broad range of assessment opportunities that are available to interns to either get into fully or dip their toe into. And so I think that it is a great opportunity to be able to do both therapy and assessments in a private practice setting to kind of see what that's like. And yeah, have an intern with me. This is Sloan, my current intern, who can also talk about things or answer questions. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us.
Thank you, Dr. Swing. And I didn't mention this at the beginning. I'm sorry about that. So we will give each of the sites a chance to kind of talk about themselves, and then we'll open it up to questions at the end. That way, if some of those questions apply to both sites, they can both jump in and answer. So if you have some questions, write them down. Feel free to put them in the chat as well. If you would rather not unmute yourself and just have a question, you can throw that in the chat, or we welcome those here in just a minute after Dr. Maxon has had a chance to talk about his site. And then we will again open it up to any questions you all have and or any of our pre-submitted questions. So with that, Dr. Maxon, would you tell us a little about Yakima Valley Farm Workers and what an intern might experience there? I am not able to hear you well. I don't know if anyone else is having issue hearing Dr. Maxon.
Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what I need to get a microphone. That I've been told that recently, so that's my bad. I apologize. Can people hear me? I'll try to lean in. Okay, cool. Yeah, so at Farm Workers Clinic, we kind of offer a wide range of opportunity for therapeutic intervention. We don't have as many assessment options, but we're using specific kind of outcome measures. And then we're looking to increase that in the future where we can have you participate to do kind of a couple full batteries. But right now we're doing more, just kind of more psychotherapy services. So, but we get to see, you get to do a lot of child, adolescent, and then as well as adult. So we do offer services in Spanish. So people who have, therapeutic skills in Spanish. That the population is not all monolingual, but we have a big farm working population here in the community. So there's a lot of diversity opportunities. And it's really cool because we work primarily with kind of like with the psychiatric community as well as with the medical community that we offer. So you get to kind of partner with a lot of different people to provide kind of that kind of opportunity and services. So and we're hoping to just continue growing, and providing options and things for people. So right now, Kelsey, which I didn't have her participate because she's on lunch and she's pretty busy. But like she's getting that opportunity and it's been really good. So my hope is that we keep growing and giving people more training, more stuff that we can do. So.
Thank you, Dr. Maxon. And as Dr. Maxon mentioned, and obviously hearing the contrast between Dr. Swing's practice, Dr. Maxon's site, Each of our sites has, areas that they might focus on. So again, Dr. Swing, I may throw a question to you on assessments. Dr. Maxon obviously emphasizing that therapy is more of a focus there. And keeping in mind that we are a generalist training region. All sites will provide the full continuum of services and training opportunities. So you will get opportunities in therapy and assessments and supervision, those core areas and those core APA competencies. But as the two training directors pointed out, each of the sites may have a kind of specialty area of practice or an area that they do a lot more of. But keeping in mind, you will get the full continuum of training experiences, again, in therapy and assessment and supervision and all of the activities, because we want you to leave that training year really having a good, solid foundation as a psychologist. And our goal is to get you experiences. Some of them might challenge you with populations that you haven't had experience with before. And we do want to challenge you, but we also want to give you the opportunity to kind of hone in on some skills in an area that maybe you want to specialize. So with that, I may pause and open it up to see if any of you have questions already or questions about the sites based on what you've heard so far. And if not, we will start working down a list of maybe some of the pre-submitted questions or questions that we've gotten from past years when we've done this. So I will pause for any questions that you all have. All right. Yes.
Hi there, my name is Insa. I am a student at Alliant International University in Sacramento, California. Sorry, I couldn't change my name on the display. This question is for Dr. Swing. I'm very interested in your site, and I saw that you have a real variety of like clientele with the CPS evals, and I'm just wondering kind of what's the proportion of the different clients. I have a strong interest in neuropsychology, and I'm just like, what proportion of the work with you is therapy versus assessment? And then within the assessment, what proportion is more the CPS evals versus the disability evals? Just kind of like trying to get an idea of what it looks like.
Sure. Good question. I think that there's not anything completely set in stone. I try and structure things in a way that kind of fits the student or an intern's needs and interest areas. There's a little bit of a want to at least build enough for assessments or for therapy to be able to like help cover costs. So the most kind of consistent or reliable way to do that is to have like a certain caseload of therapy clients and then do assessments on top of that. But there's definitely, I'm pretty flexible in terms of if you are more testing heavy and you want to have more assessment experience or more neuropsych experience, then that's definitely something that you can kind of load as being your primary area of like how you're spending your time and getting your hours. And then have potentially a smaller caseload. So it just kind of depends on your area of interest and need. There is a constant influx of DCYF evals, and so doing those will be part of it. But if neuropsych is your thing and you want to focus primarily on that, there's plenty of those being referred as well. And so I think that you could definitely stay pretty busy with that. And we would have to just like figure out what the expectations are in terms of how many evaluations you would be doing in order to figure out caseload requirements for therapy.
Thank you for that response, Dr. Swing, and so thank you for the question. I may throw a similar question to Dr. Maxon, because what I loved about your question and the response is, a lot of our sites, both of the sites, obviously we're talking about here today, but really all of the sites that we have in the consortium across the board with all 5 of our regions really want to tailor internship to the intern and what they want to get out of that year, and make sure that that what we are providing you is exactly the type of training that you're wanting. Now, again, like I said earlier, that doesn't mean that we won't challenge you to maybe give you caseloads or things that you haven't experienced. But also we want to make sure if there's an area you really are passionate about, that aligns, and we're able to get you a caseload in that and able to get you those experiences. So Dr. Maxon, maybe a similar question of how does Yakima Valley Farm Workers kind of approach that in, the tailoring the internship or hearing those interests and needs that the interns have coming in and getting them those training activities?
It's pretty similar, but like we had kind of talked about, it's gonna be more therapy heavy just because we don't really have the framework to kind of do the assessment piece is kind of on the side. So because we're not billing for that. So it would be, but as far as like therapeutic types of clients, different interests in diagnostics, as well as like whether it's adults or specific like age ranges, we can really tailor that because we have access to the full spectrum of patients, which is really cool. So we get all sorts of different types of patients, different situations, different interests, and we can kind of, like, let's say you have more interest in working with children, but you don't have a lot of experience because you didn't do a child track, you didn't specialize. We can kind of tailor that to give you not only like younger kids, but different types of issues with children, and then focus the therapy, not only the training on that, but giving you more a well-rounded experience. So when you come out of here, I really want to be, I want to specialize with kids. I want to work with kids, or I don't. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, that was too much. I didn't like it. And that's a good thing, because I think as we become psychologists, we can kind of really look and open ourselves up to what types of jobs we want and where we want to spend our time. And having the opportunity to have an experience that's really well-rounded is really a gift, I think, because it's really easy to get typecast in one area and then just go through grad school, do that. And then you don't really know what it feels like. You don't really know what it's like to have that in your life. And then maybe you end up not liking it later, and then you don't have the skill set to move into a different direction. So that's what I like about the generalist approach. And I think here we really give the intern a full range of all the different types of patients. And then we can kind of tailor it based on what they're lacking as well as what their interest is too. So, and we even can do school stuff as well, like getting people in the school doing there's lots of opportunity here too. So the more that you're interested in a certain thing, the more we know that, the more we can kind of set it up ahead of time too. So you can kind of really have that experience.
Well, could not agree with that point more, Dr. Max. And one of the things that, that we often hear interns say coming in or prior to applying is, I don't want to work with kids, or I know that I want to do this. And then, going off on internship, again, being a generalist training site, we will provide you experiences in the whole range and gamut. And what I love seeing is how many times interns often will say, I didn't think I wanted to do that, but this gave me the opportunity to kind of practice those skills and do that work in a different way and under really good, strong supervisors, and supervisors that will help you along the way to develop and grow those skills. And how many times we see interns who thought they didn't want to do something at the beginning, and then being able to really practice that in the internship year, which is what this year is designed to be, and then leaving at the end of the year saying, oh, either it validates and I don't want to do it, or now I love that work and actually want to do more of that. And both of those are okay. By the end of the year, if it just validates what you thought, that's great, because now kind of this is the area I'm really passionate about, that I want to do that more. But also oftentimes it opens more doors, like Dr. Maxon mentioned, and just kind of broadens maybe opportunities that you hadn't considered before. So we love that approach, and we love our, the sites that can give a wide range of experiences for that reason. And so on the heels of maybe talking about, again, the supervision and the supports that your supervisors will provide throughout the year, I may throw another question to both of you. Feel free to unmute, Dr. Swing, Dr. Maxon, and then I'll pause and see if anyone else has any other questions on here. But we get this question a lot of, how do you approach supervision? So maybe talk about how you as a site, not just yourself, but obviously as a site, how you and your supervisors approach the, intern supervision throughout the course of the year, and what the kind of the supervisory style there is at your sites.
Yeah, so for us, we set it up intentionally to try. We do oftentimes have some interns that come from the community, and so if we can, we try to give the intern the opportunity to supervise another student. It does, and so it depends. It's flexible, but we don't always have it baked in. But that's kind of the idea. And we try to kind of do the model of the supervision IDMB supervision model, but then like it's flexible too. My style is very particular, and people get to know me, but then we also have other psychologists. And so what I try to tell the intern is, be open to learning from not just from me, but from, Dr. Howley, and then also the other therapists, because we have so many therapists here. They have different skill sets, they have different, techniques. The more open that we are to all those things, the more you can kind of not only grow and learn just from my approach and my style, but also from other people, and kind of find what your fit is, like what works for you, and then how to kind of like implement that growing. So I think that's our strength, is that we have a lot of different providers, and so there's a lot of opportunities for them to get a different approach and a different experience from different people. So
Dr. Swing, do you want to talk about supervision at Sound Psychotherapy?
Sure. So we try and do things pretty similarly. I try and make sure that there's enough opportunities to integrate other students, whether they're practicum students or other interns from different programs that aren't involved in NPTC. So there's at least a little bit more depth and breadth, particularly for group supervision. And then it's been cool this year because Dr. Maxon and I have kind of coordinated and collaborated on our group supervision. So we kind of have a rotation going between both of us as primary kind of site supervisors and then our secondary supervisors. So there's a good rotation of having a different psychologist each week running group supervision. So everyone can get a different, get exposure to different supervision styles, at least in the group supervision setting. And then for me personally, I think my supervision style is pretty integrated and flexible. It's kind of hard to say, I think in an ideal world, I'm a fairly like psychodynamic based and like integrated supervisor. I like to kind of dig into our own stuff and how that's showing up in the context of therapy, and really focus on like understanding ourselves more and understanding clients more, and just kind of challenging a lot of the stuck points that we run into, I think, doing this work. It's a little hard to feel like I'm completely doing that at this moment because there's still a lot of kind of ramping up and logistical questions and billing questions and lots of other things that kind of eat up supervision time. But I look forward to digging into that more. There's been a little bit so far with Sloan. But yeah, I try and also find other psychologists in the area, people that I've historically supervised or have worked with in some capacity who have expertise in a certain area, if that's better aligns with the intern's interest area, so they can have, a depth and breadth of experiences with different supervisors, even if it's just kind of a 1 or 2, 3-time consult kind of supervision thing versus something ongoing. So I really try and provide as much experience as possible.
Thank you for those responses. Any other questions from the group that we have here before I keep going down the list of some of our pre-submitted questions? All right, I will keep going down the list, and we probably won't take the full hour. We'll just go through a few more of our standard questions. And please know that if you review the material after today, think about something that we didn't cover today, we welcome your questions at any point. So send those to us by email. We are happy to connect you directly with the training directors on the call today and send those questions to them and get your responses, or just connect you directly with them if you have specific site questions. So maybe for, again, either one of you, Dr. Swing or Dr. Maxon, who wants to talk about this one, what would you say makes makes an intern stand out in their application materials, something that that you either look for in the application materials, or that you think makes for a good, strong candidate for your site when you're reviewing applications?
I think for me, like, I want to say that I weigh heavy on the application materials, but typically not. I might really like someone's application based on their different experiences, and like just kind of the breadth of training experiences that they've had thus far. I'm usually looking at that. I'm usually looking at where they have worked or done previous trainings. Usually looking at their example report to see what that looks like, even though everyone learns pretty differently. And then honestly, I think that you know, I think that especially this last year, since we were a new site, we were interviewing basically everyone, which was great because I think that it gave an opportunity to kind of meet people and better understand the applicants, you know, how they would interact, what kind of questions that they asked. And so I just loved the interview process so much, in terms of like just getting to know someone, their areas of interest, why they're interested in the site, and then some like fun random questions too, just to kind of see how, you know, that interaction goes and whether or not the kind of vibe is there, right? And so I think that that is a bigger portion of how like I tend to rank people. I definitely want people to have experience and interest in areas, and then I look for a lot of kind of motivated, self-starter, independent, able to kind of practice on their own, kind of drop you into the deep end of the pool, like let you figure things out, especially as a new site. There's lots of things that haven't been like totally ironed out yet. So there's a lot of flexibility that needs to go into that too. And so those were definitely things that I was looking for, as well as interest in potentially staying on for postdoc work and or like joining my practice as an associate. So I'm really trying to you know, have people that are interested in and kind of staying on and continuing this work until they're ready to kind of go out on their own, or they can stay forever if they'd like, or at least, you know, want the intern to be able to have you know, the training and experiences so they can really leave here and work anywhere. They'll have enough experiences with like a diversity of therapy clients and assessment experiences that they could literally go and get a job anywhere because, you know, they've been faced with enough, you know, challenges and diversity in presentation and different kinds of therapy and evaluation. So they feel comfortable doing it.
Mhm. You said a few things there, Dr. Swing, that I think are really important and that we always encourage our interns to think about. And two things I want to circle back to. One, I didn't talk about this earlier, but one of the things that makes NPTC unique is when you apply and you go into APIC and you're applying for one of our sites, you're applying to a region essentially. And obviously in this region, we have two sites, meaning you could apply to one of the sites, you could apply to both of them, and you will just pay the one application fee versus for each site that you would want to apply for. And so to Dr. Swing's point, we do encourage our interns to consider applying to a number of our sites, and a number of our training directors, they're all very used to seeing interns applying to multiple sites because we really lean into that interview process, that it is a mutual interview and we want to make sure it is a good fit. The site wants it to be a good fit. We want the intern to feel like it's a good fit, because when it's a good fit on both sides, it makes for a really wonderful and rich training year. And so that again, we really encourage our interns to use that opportunity in your cover letter if you want to apply to both sites. You know, Dr. Maxon had mentioned earlier, sometimes interns may not have as many therapeutic hours or assessment hours for some reason. We still encourage applications. We just want you to maybe tell us why you would still be interested in a site, even if your past experiences don't line up perfectly. If you're interested, you're passionate, to Dr. Swing's point, you're open, you're flexible, you're motivated. That interview process is really where we tend to see, is it a good fit? You know, does that connect, is that connection there? And we really value that opportunity. So again, we encourage you to take advantage of the fact that NPTC has a different kind of application structure that makes it more feasible for you to apply to multiple sites within all of our regions really, but obviously both sites within our Pacific region, and use that interview process as again that process for you and for the site to determine, is this a good fit? So thank you for bringing up those points, Dr. Swing. Anything, Dr. Maxon, that you had that we didn't cover on that question?
Similar to what Dr. Swing was saying as far as like, you know,
I am not hearing you at all anymore, unfortunately, Dr. Maxon, sorry. Still no. Nope, we cannot hear you at all. Sorry. I will, so I will throw maybe one more question, unless I'm gonna pause and see if there are any other questions that you all have before I maybe throw out one other question that we had pre-submitted. No, okay. All right, so some of the questions we have that we get sometimes are about how sites approach training in a sense of like how independent the interns will be, how hands-on will they be doing work independently, will they be doing work kind of with the supervisor. So maybe if you could talk about just what, in Dr. Swing, I think you sort of started to mention it earlier, but kind of what a transition for an intern might look like in how they start out under supervision and maybe work to more independent practice. So if you could talk a little bit more about that. Dr. Maxon, did you get your microphone to work?
Can you hear me
No.
now?
Oh, yes, a little, yes. No, it's okay. It just seems to be maybe cutting out a little bit. As soon as you start talking, then it's very faint.
Okay. Okay. No, maybe, sir.
Yes,
You can hear me or not?
a little, yes.
See if I can turn this up and see if that makes a difference.
Yes, that is better.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm.
That's
I don't
okay.
know what's going on. Okay. Okay. So, what was the question? I'm sorry. I was trying to fix the microphone.
That's okay. No, I had two. So the first we were talking about earlier was obviously kind of the application and interview process, all that. But then it was like, how do interns come in and you approach going from being under supervision to more independent practice?
Oh yeah. So for us, the good thing that we have is there's just a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of patience. So we try to kind of start out a little bit slower, giving like making sure I'm with them when they start. They're coming in to watch me and other clinicians, so they get a different view of how everybody's doing it. And then we build the caseload, and then they start working independently. And then before they know it, they're like, they have 4 or 5 patients each day. And their schedule fills up really quick. So with Kelsey, we've actually, we ended up giving her more because she was more ready and she was more interested. And so, she's already seen, I don't even know, like 30 patients a week or something. And then, any issues she has, she's sending to me, and then we're making sure we're staffing, or I can actually go in and sit in, or there's like a lot of support around that, so it doesn't feel totally overwhelming. And I'm always checking in to make sure, because it can go from like I've only seen a couple people to like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing everybody. And then we can always take that away too. So there's a lot of adjustment where if it feels too much, we can switch out patients. We can do a lot of that stuff. So and I think
You
for
really
me that thing. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
I was just going to say, you really base that on your kind of assessment determination
Yeah,
where the interns are coming in, their developmental level, what they need, and
of
then
course.
you can gear both supervision and their caseload
Yep.
to ramping up or ramping back down
Yeah,
as
and it just depends on where they're at, because
Mhm.
everybody's a little bit different. And one thing I really look for in an intern is somebody who is just authentic and can just be a little bit honest about where they're at, so they don't feel like they should be at a certain place. But then we can really cater that, so we can work with the skill set that they have, but then also make sure we're building up where they lack. So and then just the willingness to get in there, right? Because we're, like you said, we're new, we're figuring this out on our own, and the more I think people are just open about this process and flexible, the more it makes the experience better for everybody. And that, like, they're not supposed to know what they don't know, and that's okay. And it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to be like, I don't know about this, and we can like figure it out. So that's to me been the most important thing that we're really looking for. So
Absolutely love that. Thank you. Dr. Swing, anything more on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, I try and meet the intern where they're at. There's a little bit more of an expectation of like hitting the ground running. There's obviously some ramp up time, but they, get started, do those initial trainings, and then essentially like have a wait list of people that they need to call and schedule appointments with. And, I think I had Sloan sit in on a couple of like evaluation interviews or observations. Less so with like sitting in with my established therapy clients, but open to that if that's something that interns are interested in. But also want to hear from Sloan about their experience with getting thrown into the deep end? How
Yeah.
has it been for you?
Yeah, well, I think it was something that was very clear during the interview process also, that that was just your style of kind of the expectation to have somebody who can take initiative and do their thing, and that works well for how I operate. So I felt like kind of going in, I already knew that that was what was expected of me. But I will say that even though like there's the expectation to jump in and do it, and I think I was calling clients my like second or third day, that there has never been a moment where I can't go to her and be like, hey, I need your help, or I have a question, or like there's like this expectation to jump in the deep end, but she'll jump in with me if I need. So it's felt like a good balance of being supported, but also I think I'm learning a lot too, being in a private practice setting, of getting to understand kind of what the ins and outs of that is as well. So
Thank you for that, Sloan. And I love the additional, obviously, from the perspective of the intern, what is it like? And it sounds a lot like, and from both of you, that there is encouragement to be independent and to be open. But there's always a lifeline, there's always support, there's always accessibility of your supervisors to make sure that, to use your analogy, that we're not just thinking in the deep end, but that you have the supports that you need as you're challenging yourself and doing things that might be outside of either your comfort zone or just new to you. So really appreciate both of those responses. Any other, I'm going to pause for any other questions, look around, any other questions that anyone on the call has. Any other final kind of talking points, Dr. Swing, Dr. Maxon, anything else you would like to share about your sites that maybe we haven't covered in more detail so far? Nope. Okay.
So I
Well,
I do
yes,
have
please.
Therapy dogs.
Oh,
So
that's a big one. You should talk more about that.
The interview last time at the last minute, everyone was like, "What?" So I've always had a therapy dog be my co-therapist in my practice. I got 2 new puppies this year. It's kind of a lot. They're training to be co-therapists. So the interns have opportunities to, integrate or utilize one of my dogs, or if they have a trained-ish dog who wants to try out for the therapy team. I, believe very strongly in having a therapy dog. Especially doing trauma work and other like really intense and overwhelming stuff. It tends to help people feel quite a bit more comfortable. And so that is also a big part of my practice anyway.
That's a good ad. Everyone loves well, I shouldn't say that, but yes, it's a good ad.
I can't compete with that. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's that's a tough thing to compete with, and I love it. Well, thank you all for joining. Thank you everyone for that's here live, but also for any of you that are watching this later. We do appreciate again you taking the time to explore our Pacific region and our sites here. We are very excited about watching and developing the growth in our Pacific region. And we were very thrilled with obviously the interns we have this year, and super excited about continuing to see the interns that we have coming through this region. So again, please submit any questions that you might have if you didn't have a chance to ask them today. We are happy to connect you if you have other questions for the site. And we do hope to see your applications come through when it comes time. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you all. Bye-bye.